Okay, so a warm welcome to Geert Lovink, who is a Dutch media theorist, internet critic, and activist who studied political science at the University of Amsterdam and received his PhD from the University of Melbourne, Australia. In 2004, he founded the Institute of Network Cultures at the Amsterdam University of Applied Sciences. And in 2022, he was appointed Professor of Art and Network Cultures at the University of Amsterdam, Art History Department. He's one of the most known, I might say, theorists of network culture issues, who's been very, very active for the past, 20, 30 years, even more. And he published several books. His recent ones include Organization After Social Media with Ned Rossiter in 2018, Set by Design in 2019, Stop on the Platform in 2022, and Extinction Internet in 2022 as well. So, warm welcome, and maybe I just add two more details. So we have with us Flora Barkoczi, who is the organizer of the Meta Forum conference that is going to take place from tomorrow at partly at the Truffle, partly at our department. So if you check out our social media, you can get all the information on that. So you are more than welcome for that. And also, as a short introduction to Kmeta's lecture, like we had a short kind of conversation about what would we consider that would make sense to speak about within this lecture. And since we are into the practical media issues with the second year students, and Geert is one of the most prominent authors we are dealing with, I asked him to eventually reflect on his take on the actual, on the present status and situation of practical media, which is a kind of an older term. Nonetheless, I would be also very interested in finding out his thoughts on this topic. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks for inviting me, and it's wonderful to be back. I was here again a year ago, and most likely again in 1 year from now. So, let me first say a few practical things. I am here this morning, probably until 2 o'clock or something like that. And it's possible, if you like, that I can talk with you about your research. If you want to have talk about your proposal, or I don't know where you are, if you're doing a big project, a thesis, or you want to go abroad, or something. So it's possible for that we just sit here and talk. The only thing is that we need to schedule it a little bit. I mean, if you have time, of course. I don't know if, first I will talk to Flora, which is very important for me. But after, so between 12 and 2, I can talk to you, and then you write down your name here, and then we can discuss your research. So I would say half an hour slot. That's usually that's an okay time. I can't deal with things in 15 minutes. That's impossible. So
okay. Maybe we can put this schedule over here.
That's good. So So for the time being, I have 4 slots. So. Okay.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, all right.
So you find this schedule
so you can
over there.
put down your
wherever.
name here, and then we can talk about, and then also we can talk about if you want to collaborate with the Institute of Network Cultures on one of the issues. Of course, on Saturday we have the big event here with the streaming. And this is one of my main focuses at the moment. And who of you have been actively taking part? Yeah, 1, 2, yeah. So I would 3. So I would love to talk with you, and because we also have a special event in the coming days. And that's the founding of the StreamArt network, the European StreamArt network. And so we have people here from Krakow, where the UKRAiNATV studio is. Also we have, of course, you here, already an active node since February. And then we have contact with Kiev, most likely also Kharkiv, and with Amsterdam, with the Void, which is our studio in Amsterdam, part of Institute of Network Cultures. But then also we have special guests coming here in the coming days, and they are from the group 3022 in Vilnius. And in a couple of weeks they will open their own StreamArt studio in Vilnius. We have been working with them since the spring, and also we've visited a big techno festival outside of Vilnius in the summer, and did live streaming from there, from the forest, which was very exciting. And now, they have established this new group and a space, and so they are going to join our network. We are now approximately 6 studios at the moment, so we thought it was time to kind of create this network, and that's going to happen in the coming days. So Rom is here from Krakow. He has been here, right? In your in the department.
Visited us.
Yeah. So he will be here, and Geert is, and and we will also have virtual contact with the others who cannot be here. Okay, so that's about the StreamArt network and UKRAiNATV. I also wanted to say something more practical about the program of the Meta Forum, because on Saturday afternoon we have a 1-hour slot in the program for the launch of the StreamArt network. So and also we would like to invite you 3 to join that discussion. Maybe also we will see if we can make a virtual connection, at least with Krakow and with Kiev, most likely. The others we are not so sure about yet, but so even during the conference itself, we would like to see if it's possible to bring in the others, especially from the Krakow studio and the Kiev one. Okay, so Now, let me see. My presentation here will deal with a few things, and Michelle already mentioned it. I want to talk a little bit about the urgencies of today in regards to the concept of tactical media, where activism, art, and media come together, where new spaces of let's say techno assemblages can happen, so obviously the most concrete one for us is the Stream Art network, which is now taking shape. So it's also important to understand that the theorization is not just a historical one about 90s and so on, but it's very much also about the present. However, the present, we need to understand that we cannot talk about this without let's say taking the platform blues into account, right? So we cannot just look at infinite possibilities, but we need to understand the reality. And the reality is one of platform monopolies, of censorship, of a growing amount of restrictions and bans, and and also I would say, for me, it's very important that we also put our political work in contrast or in dialogue with the mental health of young people. If we just ignore that and just simply say, oh well, that's just not happening, why do you complain? Stop complaining, bullshit. We have all sorts of alternative and utopian concepts. We don't think that's going to work. So it is a bit of a challenge to develop new ideas, which is absolutely necessary. Alternatives need to be developed, but at the same time, we do that in an overall media ecology of growing restrictions and let's say an ecology that is defined by extractivist forces and forces that want to limit us, that want to censor, filter, whatever. So my work is very much driven and centered around this tension between creating alternatives and analyzing and critiquing and creating awareness of primarily, of course, of the workings of social media. I don't know if we have to discuss here the rise of AI as a repressive force, but yeah, it's definitely felt a lot like that, at least in the Netherlands. Talking about automation, talking about surveillance, talking about extractivism. AI is a force that will only multiply these tendencies. So we at the Institute of Network are a little bit shy to talk about AI. First of all, because it's so overhyped, and also because it's so easy. It's kind of and especially in the art scene, it's so easy to create some kind of cheap eye candy stuff. So yeah, And so there is a dilemma here, and I'm really also curious, you know, how you are coping with that dilemma. I don't want to, let's say, promote some kind of nostalgic internet culture that, in fact, already has vanished, and that is no longer a kind of alive. But on the other hand, we know that you know, working together, coming together like we do here in this class. Me coming from Amsterdam and you know, being very honored that I can be here in Budapest and present my work here. That this is a kind of no meaning anymore because AI is overruling everything, right? However, this is increasingly what we feel in Netherlands. So everything that's related to internet is in fact you know, closed, is over. We don't get any more funding for anything because if it's not AI, people don't want to look at it. Also in my school, so my neighboring research center got millions and millions of euros of funding just because they are doing AI. And they told us, like, you're doing internet. Well, that's a thing of the past, right? Nobody's using the internet anymore. That's what really even tech experts are telling you right in your face, right? Now I'm really doubting if that's you know, if that's really true, but nonetheless, this is the full force, let's say, of ideology that is, you know, and I don't know, is this already happening here as well? Like, internet is gone, forget about it. If you don't work on AI, you're out. Huh?
Less consciously, I believe, but
yeah. So maybe it's not, it hasn't really materialized so brutally as in our place, but yeah.
We don't get funding anyway.
Huh?
We don't get funding.
No, you don't get funding anyway.
Yeah.
So you don't get funding, and we don't get funding for different reasons,
We don't
right?
count,
Yeah.
so it's-
Yeah, no, that's
don't
true.
need that
Yeah,
argument.
that's very true. Yeah. So I need to say that because, yes, of course, obviously, a lot of you will be confronted, you know, with the reality of machine learning in one way or another, and maybe also we already had, you know, we were already dealing with it in the past. Maybe we didn't call it like that. Yeah, we were dealing with filtering. We were dealing with algorithms. With let's say with censorship, which was you know, driven by AI type software, maybe of a different generation, and it was not generative AI yet, right? But yeah, nowadays we have this, and so okay, so let me just go briefly through a few of the things that we're doing. So, as I mentioned already, one of the main projects is the Void, and you can see it here. It's one part is live television. So we do live streamings. Obviously, that's not there, not active, because we're not streaming live at the moment, right? Also, we have this blog with a series that György is putting out, which is really a lot of very practical stuff, kind of theorizing what happens when you start to do web streaming together, right? Which is and so this is a lot of it is also yeah, dealing with cables and or what they, in German call Kabelsalat, which you can see here a very early version of. Underneath that table, I can see some some there. Also increasingly we see an interesting tendency that increasingly, let's say, the video and audio part are becoming indifferent, and this means that it doesn't, in the end, doesn't really matter if you're doing a podcast or doing a live video stream, or these things are slowly starting to merge into one. So having seen that, we just decided that instead of doing separate podcast series, etc., we just decided that one will be something with image and the other one will be without. And in the end, if you look at media consumption and behavior, especially of young people, it doesn't really matter anymore. So that's an interesting kind of new phase that we are in. Obviously, for instance, if you look at people who are in the metro or in the bus or the tram, right? They would listen to a podcast, and they wouldn't necessarily look at it on the phone. They have their earpods in, and so and do they miss the image? Yeah, we don't really know, right? Would we miss an image? So these are new forms of investigation that we find very interesting because it also points at kind of a breakdown of older and more established formats, right? And so that a new format is kind of slowly in the making. Now, the Void, together with what you are doing here with UKRAiNATV and many other nodes, what we see, however, which is very prominent, that it is also a response to the inevitable, let's say, shrinking of the time of the uploads that you watch on Instagram and TikTok, right? Maybe you will remember Instagram, TikTok, maybe 5 years ago. They were still a couple of minutes, and now the average has gone down to below 30 seconds, right? So there's an incredible implosion of time happening there. Now, what we're doing here, first of all, it's live. Second, what we do is we stretch the time, right? So stretching the time, having all the time in the world, right, is a clear response. Maybe not necessarily a critique of the 30-second clips and the frantic swiping that is related to it, but nonetheless, I think it points at another media ecology in which you go more into deep time, into where you have a lot of possibilities to create a space together, right? And so the whole concept of UKRAiNATV, of hybrid togetherness, is important here because it kind of invites people to come together without all these kind of frantic limitations, right? So and we believe that the 30-second video is kind of already it's very much part of a PR marketing a logic that kind of is not a real answer or reflection on the crisis of the attention economy that we are part of. Who has who has made a 30-second video? How many? 30-second? Yeah, 2. Okay. Do you want?
My daughter is 17 and she's constantly. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. So you.
I think
you know what? Yeah. Yeah, but she cannot imagine that she can also produce something.
No, she's bored if something is longer.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
The attention span.
Span. Yeah. So so this is the problem, right? And so. And obviously, you know, next year, the attention span has shrunken further, and we will reach, you know, 20 seconds, most likely, average, you know, length. Because maybe you have seen this was an art project, and people started laughing about it, but I didn't really laugh about it. I thought it was interesting, but yeah, there's an art project about the 1 second video. Right? Huh?
1 second.
1 second.
Ah,
yeah, yeah. So, yeah. So, yeah. So you can imagine where this is going, especially if you put, you know, 60 1 second videos after one another, and then you have a 1 minute thing. Yeah. Anyway, So this tendency to approach, let's say, the real time is something, of course, that was already reflected upon and theorized in the 90s, especially by people like Paul Virilio, who writes extensively about it since, in fact, the 80s in his books about speed politics and yeah, so this is kind of a logic that has been around longer, but it's the participatory aspect that was missing so far, namely that you are not just a spectator, but that you are also a producer. Would you like to say something about your 30-second videos?
I consider Instagram, and I felt like it was kind of forced by the algorithm, so
yeah,
like shorter videos are favored.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's in my experience.
Yeah, funny enough, there is no technological limitation, right? There's no, but there's another type of limitation. Yeah.
But also, I see people like moving the other way, so they like also the long term.
Yeah.
There was also 1 hour or like that, because it's a reaction also for that.
Yeah, and so we are very interested to work with you here about you know, to further theorize this tension, or these two completely different kind of realms of investigation. Of course, they have certain things in common, because the complexity of the image is not something that is, let's say, compromised upon. So the fact that the image is multi-layered, and that there is a certain intensity of the image, I think that's definitely still there. But it's more in the streaming that we practice and promote. It has more, let's say, psychedelic realms, right? So this is very important, that the image is not just there to communicate a message, right? What we're doing goes beyond, let's say, the news realm. It goes beyond the realm of journalism, in fact. It's a bit of a question. Does it also go beyond the realm of reflection and critical discourse? Well, that's an interesting one that we should further explore together, right? Because are the experiments that we're doing, are they also inviting critical reflection, or is it just more like a sphere, like in the Sloterdijk sense? Like, is it just a sphere in which you navigate, or is it also a forum, so to say, a place where you come together to reflect? This depends a little bit, of course, and sometimes the performative aspect is becoming quite dominant. For instance, if you think of artistic performances, DJs that come, that play a set, or a theater group, or some kind of performance group, right? But on the other hand, especially when you look at UKRAiNATV, sometimes they also bring in, soldiers that have just returned from the front line, and and then they come to the studio and explain. We had quite a few interesting encounters. Of course, with a lot of the artists, because a lot of artists like you here in Kiev, they are now working in the drone industry, right? You probably know that, right? So they either develop software for drones, or are involved in drone manufacturing, or are actually the ones that are already quite good at video gaming. They become drone operators, right? And so for us it's quite interesting to talk to them and to hear, because they have an art background, an art degree. They come from the Intermedia department, so to say, over there. So how do they experience this? And so this kind of critical reflection we find very, very valuable. Besides, of course, the more traditional topics, like what's going on in certain Telegram groups, or a critique of the mainstream media in terms of how the way it is reporting, and of course the more urgent topic right now, almost 3 years into the war fatigue, and the sheer exhaustion that is happening. Okay, so sorry, I'm very interested in all this. Let me see. Yeah, well, we can just. Is this working? Let's see if this will work.
The Institute of Network Culture is a research center.
So here you can see the normal setup, right?
Digital publishing. And that's also the idea of expanded publishing.
So
bringing both analog and digital, and try to come from the perspective of
this is Tommaso
book publishing
from
and expand
IT.
it to something that is not only in formats, not only like a multimedia publication, video.
Important here in most of the setup of
this as a sort of publication.
Studios that we have is that we eliminate the chairs and the tables, right? So and this creates kind of this kind of space. In which in which it is easier to project and to work.
Live stream or any other hybrid media form. More specifically, we look at the practices and tactics that touch from data extractive distribution models. Whether academic blog posts, video essay, or digital artwork are concerned, in the black box of most video sharing platforms, users are given little to no insight as how the content they are consuming came to be and the resources being used. Nevertheless, platforms create accessibility by providing the space in which collaborative practice occurs. Yet, platforms favor a specific approach to video making which is clean, manufactured, and advertisement friendly. The potential plurality of video making is hardly present in the standardized stream of content, curated by a lucid algorithmic process. Thus, while video sharing platforms are making knowledge accessible to the public, they also effectively garner the condition of knowledge production in a centralized core of capitalist accumulation. Against this backdrop, the Void focuses on the increasing presence of video production in research practices by providing resources to critically work with this mediatic landscape, as well as sharing and supporting research practices that center a critical engagement with media. The Void aims to expand the role of digital audiovisual production practices as a research methodology. In research publication, more often than not, media production, be it audiovisual or any other form of artistic practice that isn't writing, is still seen as somehow inferior, mere support material, a figure that accompanies the text, the main act, and that will fail to be considered as a form of research itself. For the Void, producing, hosting, distributing, and consuming media is not about illustrating previously existing research or knowledge, but about doing things. Working with media is actively doing research. In this sense, by combating the primacy of text, the Void aspires to create the means and tools for practitioners not represented in current publishing industries. During the past year, the Void developed experimental methods for open source audiovisual production, hosting, and publishing, focusing on how to quickly and sustainably design, record, edit, and publish video for research purposes. These methods are composed of several multimedia publications documenting and sharing internal practices. The main series of the Void is focused on using a pop-up TV studio as a research methodology. While usually the goal of this form of production is the digital documenting for its later distribution and consumption, this series also regards the recording studio and the act of shooting itself. Thus, the recording process becomes a space and time of encounter between artist, musician, academic, web developer, and activist. In this sense, the Void studio and the process of audiovisual production become an event, an arrangement for knowledge production and sharing enabled by the processes of shooting and deferred digital transmission. In the future, the Void aspires to be a project that is not only internal to the Institute of Network Cultural Research, but also and foremost open to external collaboration with independent artists, researchers, and collectives around the world, either virtually or physically. The objective of this collaboration is to collectively create frameworks of production and archives for audiovisual practices as expanded publishing. In order to achieve this goal, the Void is now planning to open a PeerTube instance in its own server. The question of digital archiving brings up the material question of hosting. Audiovisual content has a substantial data and environmental footprint. For this reason, through the adoption of PeerTube, the Void doesn't regard itself as a content creator on YouTube alternative, but as a collective practice of doing otherwise with audiovisual media. To sum up, the Void asks how can we make practice-based research more open, as well as how can we make a wide variety of experiences happen in and with audiovisual practices. To address this gap, we are seeking to rethink audiovisual publishing not as just a one-way street wherein the detached video researcher controls the narrative, but rather as an open and shifting field where different encounters can happen. The implicit hierarchies in our ways of perceiving and acting in media need criticism, and as these are intimately connected with a way of knowing, transforming the one means transforming the other.
Yeah, so this gives
Crisis of Network Culture is a research center based in Amsterdam. We have a long trajectory on experimental publishing, digital publishing.
Yes, so the sound is coming right now from your laptop.
Yeah.
So if you want to have a kind of stronger sound, then you should
okay.
switch.
Yeah, I should
I
change it here, right?
Yeah,
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I wasn't focused on that. So yeah. Yeah. So this is a good. Let's say, what I wanted to show you, because there was a term, and it's quite closely connected to what we are doing with the stream art and the Void in collaboration with you and UKRAiNATV, is this idea of expanded publishing. Now, the idea of expanded publishing is really very simple, and that's namely that we are absolutely fed up with the publishing industry, and that this kind of multimedia promise that was already announced and made possible 30 years ago has not materialized for commercial and political economic reasons, right? And so what we are saying, and one of the main issues there is, of course, let's say, sophisticated video integration into the wider publishing landscape, right? So this is entirely possible, but nobody really wants to go there. So this also means that we are still having a very traditional overall media landscape, right? With YouTube and Netflix, etc., and mainstream television on the one hand, and then there is that other realm. There's that other realm called the internet and social media, right? And these 30-second video clips on the other, right? But technologically speaking, this division is nonsense, right? And especially when it comes to publishing, we see that there are an enormous amount of new possibilities that are just unexplored because of all the fences and limitations that have been built around us. Not just only by large corporations, but also inside our own heads, inside our own imagination, which is also, of course, a techno-social imagination of a wider group of people. In this case, art education, and so the idea of expanded publishing is really something that we want to share with the wider world, and we want to invite people to develop with us, with larger groups of people, and I'll just show you. Yeah. Okay. So here we have, for instance, because I want to show this one in particular, yeah. And so, no, not this one. Yeah, well, we have this one by Paulo Sirio. So here I'm showing you the range of different the range of different series that we have. All of them are digital and can be downloaded. Here is another booklet on expanded publishing experiments that we're doing. It's called Stream Time, Airtime, FaceTime, Practicing Hybridity in the Cultural Field. And here, for instance, we have the best Romanian internet cafe, which is a hilarious story coming from Iași, from in the north of Romania, about the extensive internet cafe culture that is, by the way, still existing there. And but these two artists, they have written the history of this. And this will also soon be, an expanded publishing project with video, with audio, and obviously with a text that you can see here. We also made a paper version of it. So there's projects like this, but also we sometimes do quite traditional, let's say, video editing of more complex projects. So it's quite interesting to see that sometimes we do things that are really live and once a week probably. But then we also do more extensive forms of offline video editing of complex works. But this is costing a lot of time and resources. So it's not like you can't do many of those. And so this is a bit of a So how the offline and the online relate in these projects is also very much a question of time, the organization of time and resources, because, But then again, many people wouldn't, until quite recently, wouldn't know how to do complicated live streamings, right? So, and so that is, we can also say that's also a technique. That's something you need to know. In the same way as you need to know how to do video editing, and I suppose that is taught here as well, or you're all doing offline video editing, I suppose, in some form. Yeah, no, yeah. So you also know the difference and sometimes the tensions that is existing. Because the life has certain, it's quite appealing. Once you've done it a number of times, you really start to get into it. Okay. And this one in the void that maybe I want to show you because this is a somewhat older. Here you have the also my own let's say rap songs or rap things that I'm doing, not very often, but So this is one of the projects that we worked on for a long time, and that was launched not so long ago. Maybe you've seen this work or you've heard about it. I'm not really sure, but we can just very briefly look into it. This was produced and edited in Amsterdam for the Void. So this is kind of. And so this was, by the way, made well before October 7, 2023. So, Come on. Yeah.
If it would ever be one, I believe the internet will be the final place where the entire semantic infrastructure and the millenary human communications architecture will collapse. Think of one of the most wholesome posts you've came across lately while scrolling the feeds on your favorite social media. Combine it with the ultimate shocking meme you stumbled upon while surfing the deep web, or that you voluntarily search for during a lonely night of online boredom, and try to grasp the feeling you're experiencing in the moment you recall it. This is how the Kawayoku inception began. Kawayoku, it's a neologism that I created, an imperfect linguistic crisis that merged the Japanese words kawaii, adorable, and buryoku, violence. The Kawayoku Inception is a visual research and a digital archiving project that aims to analyze and keep track of online elusiveness and ambiguity, not yet easily recognizable under usual taxonomy, which intersect the aestheticization of tenderness and violence, warlike propaganda and gamification, hypersexualization and consumerism, anime and manga idioms, with gun fetishism. The Kawayoku questions the way we are used to elaborate violence in the realm of visual perception, and what are the political implications of such dissimulation and modeling mutation. The pictures here presented are part of a 32,000 files archive I've collected in the last 3 years. My project was born in 2020, and it has been quite an adventure to dive into the internet's nook and cranny and catalog, organize, and gather each category in a visual map to give that sense of direction so often lacking within the internet jungle. The research takes place within those digital environments globally renowned like Facebook, Reddit, Twitch, and Twitter, and others dominated by a rampant youth like Instagram, Telegram, Discord, and TikTok. I started researching from one of the most visible aspects found of my social media feeds. Since the very beginning of my online life, I've been constantly awashed by thousands of awesome memes, unboxing videos, pink-obsessed compulsive purchasers accounts, and myriad of unnecessary but incredibly adorable collectible fetishes that reward and decorate social anxieties. In one word, the kawaii. Kawaii embodies the culture of cuteness, a growing movement and a social phenomena that thrives on the exasperation of tenderness, vulnerability, and childlike features. A culture able to produce and influence an infinite number of trends, moods, fandoms, and a variety of different online subcultures, addicted to consumption and commodified fetishism. Kawaii is now embraced by billion-dollar industries and works as a digital identity activator, which means it easily creates a sense of belonging and self-representation within specific online communities that identify themselves under the ideology of a totalitarian state of cuteness regime. Since the 70s, kawaii is one of the most prominent consumeristic cultures conceived for the masses, as it's able to absorb attention and desires and meets the most elementary needs of an era, the search for comfort and protection from an increasingly fragile human condition. By doing a research on online visual culture, it's easy to collide with certain weirdness sooner or later. This is how kawaii aesthetics started to match uncanny criteria. The more I was digging into the depth of it, the more I was stumbling upon random memes of an Hello Kitty plushie asking me to die or hang myself. Suddenly, what at first appeared rude and corrosive went incredibly sweet and mild. The internet is, of course, filled with edgelording, post-irony, and controversy. But at the same time, I had the feeling it wasn't just a weird nihilistic nuance of Gen Z humor. I found a new thriving ecosystem of alien digital fauna. This is how the epicore aesthetic I was starting from wasn't there to only fulfill the internet's desire for safe spaces, but it also extended into visual representation of sensitive topics. Traumacore is an example that employs a combination of soft and unsettling visuals to convey complex and potentially triggering issues like mental health, child abuse, and self-harm. Meanwhile, more interconnection were surfacing. Links between worldwide anime fandoms, rooted in the Japanese soft power industry, were more evident when crossing the realm of cosplaying art and gaming communities. The Japanese manga industry was immediately linked to the kawaii culture, which deeply affected gaming and e-girl subcultures. E-girl is a central theme. It's a Gen Z subculture, notably popularized by TikTok, that emerged a few years ago, that equals of being young, female, attractive, and online, existing mostly in the privacy of a bedroom. E-girl has been referred to as a massive portion of fashion industry, the future of online subculture, a stereotype, even a slur. In the earliest definition from 2009, an e-girl was used as a derogatory term on gaming sites, where a woman gamer can be threatened and doxxed for simply existing in the prevailing male gaming world. The e-girl plays around the imaginary of a contemporary Lolita on keyboards, alive only full line, dressed up in a mass-produced aesthetic, translated into anything related to the infantilization of an old body, baby voice, deflective childishness, impish attitude, draw-on freckles that could shock, appeal, or obsess a male gaze. A recurring term encompassing the social online and offline obsession for women's body at the threshold of reality and virtuality is the waifu. The waifu word, popularized by the platform 4chan, is used to refer to a fictional girl, usually in anime and manga, that inspires male sexual attraction or even the aspiration of marrying the character. The stereotype of a waifu is a prominent figure disseminated in many alt-right online forums and incels-run Telegram channels, Discord servers, and periodic threads on 4chan/poll. Very sensitive to ban and censorship, the not safe for work subreddit Dakimakuras, body pillows with anime girl depicted on it, gather thousands of users to share their sets of pillow illustrating very young or adult-age female anime, sometimes paired with a set of rifles. As I was diving more into my research, I've infiltrated in many far-right and pro-gun online forums to collect more information on the topic. Booming tactical industries, for instance, are keen to intersect the glamorization of weapons and a strong passion for anime with a subtle tendency to emphasize on violence and misogyny aestheticization. Guns and waifus incarnate an emblematic iconography of the extreme male domination, the egomaniac power and rage of armed superiority, combined with an idealistic female imago, purified from human defects that will be otherwise unattainable in real life.
Okay, so I have to stop here because you can see the full video yourself online. I can highly recommend it. In the second part, it is about the use of these images, rhetorics by the mostly female members of the Israeli army, IDF. So then it moves into the realm of, let's say, the current Israel-Palestine conflict and its imaginaries. Now maybe you know that these types of postings since October 7 have been forbidden, so IDF is now highly restricting the possibility of its soldiers to independently upload things on social media, right? So this material was collected and processed and analyzed in let's say the naive period before September, before October 7. last year, right? So there is a bit of a difference there, but I would say the analysis is more or less the same. Okay. I myself am working on also this similar direction. My new essay is called Platform Brutalism, and deals with the question of what happens when internet stagnation, when societies like Hungary that are becoming very, very regressive, stagnant, at some point, after 10, 20 years, or how long, at what point does even this stagnation break down and turn into violence? So this is kind of the point, the almost obvious next point. What happens, because I started to ask myself, what happens if the stagnation, if the regression of all these technologies is just basically an endless process, right? An endless process, but it's not. So as it turns out, there is some kind of violent end to all this, let's say, collective despair. Right, and this investigation by Noura is just one of many that we can make in this respect. Another aspect of this work that I want to point you at, that we are working on at INC, is the girl theory aspect. So let me see, is it working? Yeah, all right. So in the last year, we have published 3, here they are. The girl brain post long form. The silly girl theory, and the sad girl theory. Now, the sad girl is probably the most well-known one. So this essay gives a bit of a wrap-up. Let's say a history of the sad girl, the silly girl. There's a lot of the elements in Noura's video that you just saw that kind of touches upon that element of the silly girl, and then girl brain, and now we have also another one in production, which is about girl math, about girl mathematics. And it's actually written by, a female mathematician your age. And so the girl math is a critique of the boy math, right? And boy math is basically what you learn in school, and then what is taught in university. So there's this is a really very interesting, productive field, I have to say. It's again different from, let's say, the more traditional 1990s cyberfeminism approach, and it's much more a product, I would say, of the social media domination and the hegemony of social media, especially in everyday life. But I want to end here by also presenting, a new work that I've recently published myself. So I will read some fragments of that. Okay, so now we are going to the world of copium. And copium is basically, the simple question, how do you cope in this digital age of disaster, right? And so copium is kind of can be a whole set of drugs or things that you take to kind of cope with the world that we are living in. If you constantly, for instance, bombarded with postings from Gaza, from Ukraine, if your feed just becomes very, very violent, and you can't do anything about it, then the question is of copium comes, on the agenda. So I wrote about that, and then the new text that I just told you about platform brutalism, is kind of a little bit of a logical follow-up of that, when maybe the copium even no longer works, or when there's a certain inflation happening, when you feel like, okay, all the measures, all the psychic armors you have erected to defend yourself, basically to survive in this very harsh world, when they kind of start to break down, what happens then? But this is we're not yet there, and so I'm just gonna so I'm gonna read you this. Copium Compendium. How do you cope in this digital age of disaster? There's a never-ending pressure of new requirements, but none are beneficial for you. Desire disappeared long ago, and your soul feels depleted. You need change, but you can't cope with change any longer. What happens when there's no more energy to address the issues head on, and you forget to take care of your body? What if you are bored and feel lonely now that your online friends no longer answer? You got intoxicated last night, but it's no longer possible to get high. How do digital souls survive when perseverance means nothing anymore? They say the opportunity for advancement has gone. Once you're too tired to manage your life and deal with the planetary dysmorphia, there's always the fallback option of copium. If the project of maintaining existence in the face of perpetual crisis is about reclaiming the power of definition in the fight against right-wing meme hegemony, copium is a very good example. Let's define copium as the digital intake that makes one temporary numb, intoxicated, and deprived of sensation, when there's literally zero emotion on display. This is the road taken from the bittersweet irony down to confronting and overcoming absolute nihilism. What happens when there's no energy left to deal with the world's true nature, and you enter an unnarratable condition? Copium are necessary techniques that help you to keep going. Beyond the destructive sides of drugs taking and psychedelic ecstasy, of wonderful, colorful, alternative realities. Push ahead, say it loud, stay weird. and be assured there's life again after the event horizon. Enter the tricky pharmacon of the painkiller as attitude that opens up to the miracle. What happens when the escalation of shock value no longer works? Once inside the rabbit hole, one forgets euphoria and even the rush. Instead of theatrical breakdown, the fictional yet all too real copium drug causes a whatever flatlining of involuntary capitalism we're thrown into. Copium, I want to define here, is the substance that helps people deal with stress and other negative emotions. According to the website Know Your Meme, I quote, copium used to describe a fictional drug to help one deal with loss. It is frequently used in a meme featuring Pepe the Frog hooked on to an oxygen mask, oxygen tank labeled copium, a chemical used to smooth the mind of a person who has just lost a debate, a fight, whatever. The term copium goes back to mid-2003 when the rapper Kick the Sneak released his album Copium. There's also a suggestion, according to Wiktionary, that copium gives energy to denial in those that consume it. The term copium got popularized in meme space during the 4chan Twitter Trump years, between 16 and 20, right? But it can also be read as a reference, of course, to the US opiate crisis, right? Opiate, copium, opium, yeah, opiates. However, the emphasis here in this essay lies on the aesthetics of how to grapple with stress, panic, and anger, not on the luring, self-destructive ways out. The French philosopher Bernard Stiegler describes this period as the collapse of global childishness. There you see the reference to the video of Noura, right? That also deals with this condition of global childishness. Leaving the white middle classes to sink into misery, alcoholism, drug addiction, and resentment, accelerating the regression of their life expectancy as well as the collapse of their intelligence quotient, as Stiegler describes it. While Urban Dictionary defines copium as metaphoric opiate inhaled when facing a loss, failure, or defeat, especially in sports, politics, or other tribal settings, the emphasis here lies on the structural aspect of a life defined by serial defeats. Right? What happens when you lose, 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 lose? What happens when the loss becomes permanent and gets hardwired into the techno-social existence? The shock doctrine that defined the neoliberal age is long gone. Yet change, that which is again the crucial term in the Kamala Harris campaign as well, change. But change is only for the happy few. The shock is permanent today, right? So also different to the neoliberal age, when the shock was just a short moment to bring you into another state. These days, the shock is permanent, right? So this is a different condition. And the shock has become an integral part of 21st century life. What remains is diversity in the form of stagnation, regression, crisis, and decline, and a never-ending sense of disasters. What Kim Stanley Robinson, in his book Ministry for the Future, calls Götterdämmerung capitalism. Nothing will disappear voluntarily, out of the blue, right? So everything is here to stay. Nothing gets resolved. The playful idea of Jean Baudrillard of appearances and disappearances is over, right? Everything is there to stay. And this is a problem. Things cannot disappear anymore, right? They are always with us. They cannot go away. And so this is the problem, right? So problems are not resolved, always continue. Nothing will disappear voluntarily. Appearances refuse to fade away. With both history and technology further speeding up, the hyperforces become autonomous entities that no longer needs the human subject. That's the bleak life after the tipping point. In 1843, Karl Marx wrote his famous sentences, "Religion is the sigh of the oppressed creature, the heart of a heartless world, and the soul of soulless conditions. It is the opium of the people." The aim of religion was to calm down uncertainty in life. Around the same time, the God is dead phrase started to circulate, right? So Kierkegaard and Marx, they write exactly around the same time, and it's also around exactly that same time that Nietzsche started to enter the scene. And blame them all. Blame Spinoza, Kierkegaard, Stirner, Nietzsche. But once the secular genius was out of the bottle, no spiritual renaissance could reinstate the violent authority of religion. Fast forward from the 19th century, and the question is what copium of the people is today. What calms you down? How do you cope? What are ways to incorporate uncertainties in the light of the inevitable? The raw objectivity of the collapse alone will not lead to political action unless we take vulnerability into account. This is the lesson for the 2020s. We're supposed to be actors, but behave like 20th century spectators. This is our melancholy. Just that something is so good, just can't function no more. Joy Division. Instead of defining copium as a psychological strategy whereby the male subject rejects the harsh truth and adopts a less disturbing belief instead, let's also stress the survival aspect of the repetitive everyday life that does not allow for revolutionary change. Take the chill pill, will you? And that's a popular saying. Coping is when a result of the loss of the positive side of ideology turns into a belief system. And being in the world is reduced to killing time. So this is what you see most people doing. They're just on their phone. Why are they on their phone? Not because they're curious about the news, but because they have to kill time. So that's the, let's say, that's the existentialist, the techno-existentialist reality we're surrounded by. While some associate copium with subdued addictive substances and things like sport, sleep, porn or food, copium can better be understood as essentially digital time killers, such as binge watching series, playing games all night, doom scrolling TikTok videos. And do not forget all those sensitive YouTube sessions. Okay, I'll leave it here because our time is running out. So hopefully, we will meet in the coming days, and you can always approach me directly through email geert@networkcultures.org. No, this is a fact. This is our reality, and we need to cope with it, right? So here's a guy who ate without YouTube, and that time has gone forever, right? Okay, thank you very much. Okay. So, if you're interested.
So thank you very much, Geert, and please don't forget if any of you would like to have a short kind of
talk
with Geert, you can put your name on the schedule, and you are more than welcome to do that throughout today in these time slots. Okay, and thank you very much for your attention and for being with us. And
I hope to see you soon.
At the truffle. Okay.
Just one question: that the Saturday is open to students, because we've got the MA students who got inspired by your last occasion you were here, and they try to have a degree project which focuses on war and representation.
On what?
And so that probably the streaming of Ukraine was the impetus that they really were inspired by. Can they maybe join on Saturday?
Like here?
For sure. Of course. This is an open evening, so it's for everyone to join.
Perfect.
Everyone is invited from 6 o'clock. The live.
And so do you plan to have these screenings more often? So maybe they can
for sure.
Okay, let's see.
And also this is already the third or fourth screening from Budapest. The third.
No.
Fourth. I thought it was fourth. I watched all of them. So so this is the fourth one, and definitely, we're already planning next ones, and as Budapest is now part of the network, I don't know. I mean, some cities do weekly, others do monthly. Some do only streams, around events, and so we'll have to see how that, if there will be a rhythm or not, but that's entirely up to you, of course,